This is Frankie Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report. A little bit about Korea, North Korea. I covered this a lot. You guys watched me throughout the years, always talking and covering it. But it's getting hot there. The peninsula, if it wasn't heated up, the Korean peninsula is really getting heated up now. If you notice, they had the bomb, and usually their bombs, and I believe this was ICBM, they'll shoot it, and it'll come just next to, out in the ocean. It'll say, hey, we're here. But this time they decided to shoot it over Japan, which is, some people are like, oh, what's the big deal? Well, let's see. How would you like Russia putting a ship off the coast of the United States and shooting a ballistic missile over Florida at a low trajectory, which is what they did? You probably wouldn't like it. So today, Trump went out and he had some nuclear-capable planes go out and fly an exercise that was intended to send the Korean leader, the Korean dictator, the Korean nut job, the fat man, I call him, to send a message, a strong message to him, and saying basically, look, we're not going to tolerate this. Is it a strong message? I don't know. I don't know how effective it'll be, if anything's effective against this guy. A lot of people are saying, look, the only real option you have with this guy is, if he keeps it up, is just go full nuclear on him. Because you can't just drop a few bombs. He's got, what, 2 million people amassed on that border. We got, what, 50, 60, 70,000, whatever, South Koreans and United States troops over there. And he's got bombs everywhere. Some nuclear capable, obviously. And once you launch an attack, he's going to start shooting Japan, Australia. He's going to shoot off at South Korea. And a lot of people are going to die. So a lot of people are saying, well, rather than that, drop a ton of nuclear bombs and totally dismantle and kill a ton of Koreans. Either option, horrifying. Horrifying. So you got these reports that Trump went out and he had 4 US F-35B bombers, fighter jets. And they joined 2 nuclear-capable B-1Bs, bombers. And they went over to the DMZ area, or the borderline there, and with the South Korean assistance, so they had some F-15s. They did this joint operation where they dropped some bombs right there on the border. Right there. And these were planes that flew out of Guam, Guam being one of the areas that Kim Jong-un, the fat man, wants to target. But, even then, he said, look, you're dropping bombs right on my border. You guys don't scare me. He said this whole exercise it's fruitless, basically. He says, look, if you continue to do this, I'm going to take future launches. I'm going to target the Pacific, where the U.S. imperialist aggressors, that force of the aggressors, are out there based in station, which is Guam. And the North Korean state media, which is basically his mouthpiece, said they can never stop that bolstering their nuclear, because they need that deterrent to keep the imperialist Americans away. And this comes just one day after he went out and put us one step closer, sending a bomb over Japan. He was out there, he was smirking. He said it was a weapons test, and it advanced his country's ability to contain Guam. Not sure if it needed contained, but, well, I guess it does. So if you're flying our jets out of Guam and dropping bombs right out there on the border as a show of force, then he's got a valid point, I guess the nut job does. But what can you do? You think about it. A lot of people here are lackadaisical. They're watching their reality shows, and they don't really, I guarantee you can go out and poll people. And I would bet maybe 10, 15% understand the crisis that's taking place over in Korea, or for that matter, over in the China-India border, or over in the Afghanistan, the different areas. But right now, North Korea. And are they prepared? We saw what happened with Katrina 12 years ago. We saw what happened with Harvey, what's happening with Harvey. We saw just last year in Florida, I think it was Sandra, the hurricane, where everybody just came over from the East Coast. All the markets, water, food, all the necessities were gone. Our infrastructure was bogged down with everybody traveling over to this coast. What would happen if there was some kind of nuclear threat? And originally, when this was being hyped a lot, I guess there was a lot of sales of the over the internet of this stuff, you know, to prevent any type of, you know, if nuclear attack were to break out, to get the mask, get the iodine, and all that stuff. But they thought, hey, the threat is now gone, but it's not gone. And in fact, it's probably escalated more so. It's just not being covered as much. And I got some pictures up on the screen, as you can see, and they illustrate how the trajectory of where he could go with his bombs. And as you can see, he can hit mainland United States off our west coast. He could hit Japan, Australia, not Austria. There's a lot of different places that he could go. And what will this do? You know, a lot of people aren't looking at the broader implications of this. Think about it. If he does this, which side are people going to be on? China's already said, look, unless he starts dropping bombs physically on Guam, and then if the United States attacks and he doesn't do that, then we're getting in and we're coming against the United States. If he attacks the United States and drops bombs on Guam, then we're staying away from it. But that's what they're saying. Russia evacuated a bunch of people from their east coast, and they're concerned. Not sure why. I believe they did that yesterday. And they're cautioning the United States to be careful. A lot of people say, look, if this comes down to it, you're going to have Russia and China basically joining forces against the United States, and you probably even clashing with each other, knowing their history. Then you're going to have it's the making of World War III. I mean, China wouldn't even condemn Korea over this Mitchell launch. They just said, show some restraint. That's because China can't stand Japan. They don't care. They think it's funny. They'd like to knock Japan off the face of the earth, too, after World War II and a lot of the atrocities there. But Australia is very nervous, and rightfully so. What do you know, the other thing we were talking about, food preparation. What do you do? What do you go out and get? You know, are you prepared for a nuclear strike? Do you have all the right material? Do you have potassium iodide? Do you have a large supply of emergency food, a large supply of emergency water? Can you cook indoors? Do you have a lot of fuel? All that good stuff. And this is stuff that I covered the other day in Iran, because I was looking at Harvey and I'm like, nobody's prepared. But who would be prepared for this? And I guarantee you nobody, because everybody thinks it's on the back burner, it's not going to happen, and that's if they even think about it at all. And if war to break out between us and North Korea, it's not going to be like back in the 50s. The whole world would be involved. And just think of the environmental impact of this. If you're dropping nuclear bombs, the environmental impact on all of the global community. And, you know, the warmongers, the McCains, the Grahams out there, they're happy about it because they're so tied into that military-industrial complex. They're giddy about it because with war, a lot of these companies make a ton of money. It's good for business. And so they're out there. They're rubbing their greedy hands thinking, we're going to make a ton of money. We're going to be even richer than we are now. McCain, that guy's an idiot. Do some research into what he was like in Vietnam. I don't know if he was that much of a hero once you do your research, but the rich will essentially get richer. Will it matter if there's nuclear fallout everywhere? I doubt it. And a nuclear global conflict would be horrifying. Like I said, horrifying. Think about it. Just imagine, if you will. I mean, so many people right now, they don't know what war is like. You know, they see the pictures, and a lot of them are screened out. They're vetted out of the major news here, but if you go online and you look at what's happening over in Syria, over in Yemen, and Iraq, and multiply that by 100 times. Introduce nuclear issues into there. Introduce the fact that a lot of us Americans are pansy asses into it. Most of us cannot go out and fish. We cannot go out and hunt. You take away our iPhone, we go into freaking meltdown. You factor in all this stuff, and it's scary. The weaponry, how much more technologically advanced it is from World War II. It's unimaginable, the long-term issues we will have with this, and the impact it would have on everybody's lives. So I hope some sensibility comes in here, but I don't think so. You got the fat man. There's no sensibility there. You got Trump. He's carrying this very, very hard line. But then this very soft line Obama took is what gave the nuclear weapons to the North Koreans. So what do? And I'm thinking we're almost to the point where there are no options except war. And when you go to war, what's the option? Do you drop a ton of nuclear bombs and kill a ton of North Koreans and destroy the environment for years to come? Do you just drop a couple bombs and have him shoot off his nuclear weapons because he's freaking out? Have him send his 2 million strong army across the border. Let's not forget they're what, 80 subs I think they have that they can put off our coast now? I don't think all 80. I think they have some that can make it off our coast. And I believe a couple of those can carry nuclear from what I have researched. How about EMP? Everybody agrees that just about everybody agrees that basically North Korea could do an EMP attack over us. That would destroy our whole grid. And I covered the other day, it's going to take just the main part of the grid. There's 9 different central locations. This one main part takes like 18 months to make. There's 2 locations, one in Europe and one in Canada. And we don't have any backup. There was some work to try to get a game plan together through Congress, and they had this consultant go back and look at it, but it fell on death's door. You never heard anything else from it. So really concerning. And it's sad that so many people aren't involved. I guarantee you, I might get, I get a couple thousand videos or people that watch my videos, but I'll get 50, 60. Let me see. I did a kid in a store. I did the mall thing where the lady had her blonde kids, blue eyes, and 2 strangers came up to them, and it was local. I had on that page, I think it was something like over 100,000 people read it, like it, share it. Yet I only get a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand that will watch this video, that will go out and actually research it. But if I can reach one person, it's better than reaching none. So this has been Frankie Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report.